A little over 4 years ago, I was in conversation with our associate pastor nominating committee here at Second Presbyterian Church. We were discerning whether it would be a good idea for me to be called here as the associate pastor for children and family ministry. As we talked together, they told me all about the talented colleagues I would have the privilege of working with. They told me all about the faithful families I would get to minister among. They brought me in through the 3-story welcoming atrium of our church, showed me my comfortable and spacious office, toured me through our preschool and children's ministry wing, and they proudly showed off our beautiful sanctuary. We discussed together the exciting work I would be able to do with children alongside committed and gifted volunteers. They drove me down to Westminster Neighborhood Ministries and took me to lunch at the country club. They did confess that sometimes it has been known to snow here from as early as October and as late as May. Well, I was certainly intrigued, and as you know, I did accept that call. But there were 2 things that they did not tell me. These things were not revealed to me until once my family had been transplanted here, my books unpacked, my robe hung in the sacristy, and my ordination and installation service were complete. Only then did they tell me that I would be responsible for the donkey. Oh yes, they said, isn't it exciting? Each year for Palm Sunday, we get a real live donkey to lead the children in the Palm Parade. And since you're the pastor for Children and Family Ministries, you will be responsible for arranging to make sure the donkey gets here. You get to lead in the parade. You get to dress up like a disciple, complete with first-century sandals. Over the weeks between my arrival in February and that first Palm Sunday in April, I learned that donkeys sometimes bite, that donkeys can be stubborn, that donkeys have hard shoes, and that donkeys are not afraid to poop in church. I learned that indeed our donkey had bitten, that indeed our donkey had shown signs of stubbornness, had stepped with hard shoes on the exposed toes of disciples, and our donkey had, in fact, pooped in church. So, who thought it was a good idea to bring a real live donkey into church? Well, it turns out Jesus did. Actually, it wasn't Jesus, it was Zechariah the prophet, who told the people about the triumphant entry of a king for whom they had been waiting. Look, Zechariah said, here comes your king, triumphant and victorious, and riding on a donkey. No, not a donkey, a colt of a donkey. You know, one that's never been ridden, one that's never been to church before. So when it came time for Jesus' triumphal entry into Jerusalem, really no other mode of transportation would do. So he sent a pair of his disciples. He probably didn't tell them either when he invited them to follow him that this was going to be part of their duties. To go in and get that untrained colt of a stubborn, biting, unpredictable beast for him to ride on. No, Jesus said, actually, bring them both. Bring the donkey and the colt. I'll ride them both. As if one donkey were not awkward and unpredictable enough. Matthew tells us that Jesus rode on both. I'm not sure exactly what that looked like. We're not yet brave enough here at Second to actually put our disciple or Jesus on the donkey. We just walk beside it. I don't know about you, but if I were ushering in a kingdom, I would have chosen something more reliable, like a well-trained horse, or a nice red convertible, or an armored Cadillac. But Jesus wasn't that kind of king, nor his kingdom that kind of kingdom. Jesus knew that the crowd gathered in Jerusalem for Passover would recognize that by riding a donkey into the city, he was ushering in a kingdom of peace. For those who prepare for war ride on horses. Those who are afraid ride in armored vehicles. So Jesus pulls these two disciples aside and says to them, "Okay, go into the village ahead of you, and right there you will find a donkey and her colt tied up with her. Bring them back here to me. Now, if anyone says anything to them, you just say, 'The Lord needs them.'" And that's why we need to have a real live donkey here on Palm Sunday. Now, I don't think Jesus' disciples were too surprised by these instructions. Of course, they knew about Zechariah's prophecy, and donkeys were pretty common transportation for the folk of that day. But also, I don't think they were too surprised because they knew the other things that Jesus had needed as he was ushering in his kingdom. He had needed a young girl from Galilee to be his mama. He had needed a simple manger, a feeding trough, to be his bed. He had needed a wild and crazy prophet to baptize him. He had needed 40 days in the desert. He had needed some fishermen, a tax collector, a woman at the well with too many husbands, children to sit upon his knee, hungry people to teach and feed. You get the idea. The gates of Jerusalem, under the watchful eye of a Roman guard and pious Pharisees, must have been pretty intimidating. Jesus must have been pretty courageous to enter that city, humble and vulnerable and riding on a donkey. Did you know that some people find our church pretty intimidating? They find those beautiful lawns out there that draw us in and that gorgeous steeple rising to the sky to be a fortress that says, you might not belong here. They imagine that we are a place only for thoroughbred horses, certainly not for trained, unpredictable beasts of burden. They imagine that we have it all together, that we have already found all the answers, that our slips don't show, that all our children behave really well, that we never hit the wrong notes, and that our pastors never misspeak. They can't imagine that there might be a place for them here, awkward and unschooled as they are in this place. Oh, I wish they would walk through the door today, for if they would get a glimpse of who we really are. A people who allow a donkey in their sanctuary. No, a people who delight in a donkey in their sanctuary. For we know that this is Jesus' way, taking ordinary things and setting them aside for extraordinary use. Open wide the gates of righteousness, says the psalmist, that I may enter through them and give thanks to the Lord. This is the gate of the Lord. The righteous shall enter through it. Oh, I wish that they would walk through the grand entrance to our atrium on Monday morning, for there they might have a chance to meet Randy. Have you met Randy? Randy is one of our neighbors. He spends Monday through Friday here from 9 to 3. He is a friend. He comes here with his friends from Noble of Indiana. He likes to work the puzzles in our library, to drink coffee, visit with friends, watch the news, and sort screws and nails for Habitat for Humanity. Randy is an adult with a disability and needs a place to be with friends and a caregiver for the day. Our doors have been opened to him and his friends. We are a church that has a place for Randy. No, we are a church that delights that Randy has found a place with us. For while we might have thought that we were serving Randy, Randy is actually serving right alongside us. He is the one leading us into the kingdom. If you come into our atrium on Monday morning around 9 o'clock, look for Randy. He'll be the one shaking hands of friends and strangers at the coffee bar. On your next Habitat build, when you reach for the screw you need, it will be easy to find because Randy spent his day here sorting it out for you. This is Jesus' way, seeking out the ordinary and setting it aside for extraordinary use. This brings me to the second thing I learned after I arrived at Second Presbyterian Church. I was pulled aside and told, oh, by the way, not right away, but soon, you're going to need to develop a ministry with children with special needs. Now, you know, I don't have any experience with donkeys, or I didn't before I got here, and similarly, I had very little experience with persons with special needs. And I must confess, I was afraid of both. Like donkeys, persons with disabilities can cause us to be a little bit nervous. What if they speak out during the worship service? Why are they hiding under the table? Will we need space for wheelchairs? Will we need more buddies in Sunday school? Over the last 4 years, I have learned a lot about donkeys and persons with special needs, thanks to the guidance of people who love them. While others were relaying to me stories in those early days of donkeys that bite and are stubborn, one member told me about how she visited the church the first time on Palm Sunday with her family, and they saw the trailer outside with the donkey in it. And they followed the donkey up into the church, and she decided that if this was a church that could have a donkey come through its sanctuary, this was the church for her. Allison agreed to walk beside me that first day with the donkey, and I felt so much more comfortable for it. You see, Allison had been an animal trainer an animal handler on Broadway. She was the one that handled Sandy, Little Orphan Annie's dog, right there on Broadway. So I felt pretty confident walking beside her and this donkey. Allison told me about our donkey, Enright. Yes, our donkey is named after our former pastor. We are a people not too afraid to laugh at ourselves, I think. She told me how Enright prepares for her annual visit to our church. She has a bath, and she begins a special Palm Sunday fast on Friday night. So I always spend Friday and Saturday praying for poor Enright, who doesn't get to eat. She told me that Enright is a Jerusalem donkey. You can tell that, Allison said, because she has the mark of a cross on her back. Over the years, walking with Enright, I have discovered that she is quite sweet and a little bit mischievous. She is gentle with the children and will not miss the chance to take a nibble of a palm branch that gets too close to her nose. I think she likes her special role at our church. She steps right off on cue at the first chords of All Glory, Laud, and Honor. Over the years, others have come forward who love the donkey, who consider it a great privilege to walk with her. When it came time to begin our ministry with persons with special needs, we brought alongside us people who knew and loved them. Parents, teachers, and persons with disabilities themselves were gracious enough to share with us their joys, their challenges, their experiences of welcome, and their experiences of exclusion. We knew that education and personal relationships were the key to overcoming our fear. So we began to educate our volunteers. What is autism? What is Down syndrome? What kind of behaviors might we expect? What kind of modifications will we need to make? What kind of gifts do these individuals bring to us? How can we welcome these children, engage these children, tell these children how much Jesus loves them? We learned new skills and new language. We learned to see the person first and not the disability. We knew, too, that children grow up to be adults, and so Open Arms Special Needs Ministry wanted to help facilitate the truth of Second Presbyterian's mission statement to all persons with disabilities, so that their disability was not a hindrance to their participation in the life of this community of faith. Guided again by people who knew and loved persons with disabilities, we decided to open our doors to the Sunrise Bible Study. Our friends from Lutheran Disability Ministry taught us about ministering with, not to. And now in the second year of our Bible study, we're beginning to get it. We opened our doors to welcome, we opened our doors to serve, and now our friends with disabilities are leading us, carrying us into the kingdom. A few weeks ago, I was there when 12 of our neighbors arrived from their group homes in this area for our Bible study. John came forward to lead songs. Amy asked if she could be the one to record the prayers. Randy welcomed the late arrivals, and Janae read the scripture. We left knowing more about Jesus and the things he needs for his kingdom. Open to me the gates of righteousness, that I might enter through them and give thanks to the Lord. This is the gate of the Lord. The righteous shall enter through it. Our anniversary campaign video from today reveals that we get it, or at least that we are getting it. We are open to getting it. Our polished wooden doors are open to the very things that God needs for his kingdom. The stream of strolling, toddling, often laughing, sometimes crying children pouring in and out of our doors brings life and energy to our church that we miss during the quiet month of July when Children's Circle Preschool is not in session. Let them come, Jesus told his disciples, for this is just the sort of thing I need for my kingdom. Our support of this initiative will make it possible for our doors to open wider to more children, to families who cannot afford the cost of tuition for such a fine preschool. Open wide to me the gates of righteousness, that I might enter through them and give thanks to the Lord. This is the gate of the Lord. The righteous shall enter through it. Our Northside ministry team has made a conscious decision to house a food pantry here in our building, so that we are not just going out to feed the hungry, but that we are welcoming the hungry to come into our doors. For these are just the sort of people Jesus needs for his kingdom. Open wide to me the gates of righteousness, that I might enter through them and give thanks to the Lord. This is the gate of righteousness, the right of the Lord. The righteous shall enter through it. Jesus' kingdom construction list may have some pretty odd items on it, most of which make us a little nervous. A pregnant teenager, a barn, children, folks hungry to be taught, to be fed, shouting blind men, a donkey, a cross. Jesus' kingdom construction list is full of things that the world would reject, but which for Jesus are essential blocks for kingdom building. This is good news for us, for it just might mean that he needs me. It just might mean that he needs you. Open wide to me the gates of righteousness, that I might enter through them and give thanks to the Lord. This is the gate of the Lord. The righteous shall enter through it. We are righteous because he has made us so. We are welcomed because he has called for us. So, disciples, go out into the days before you, and right away you will find someone who has not yet been trained, someone who does not seem to fit, someone who perhaps makes you feel a little nervous, someone who has been waiting. Bring them to Jesus. And if anyone says anything to you, you reply, the Lord needs them.